So we've given MSNBC has been given a hard time by fairness and accuracy in reporting, and by us, by a lot of people, because they don't cover Yemen. They're not covering the genocide in Yemen, but they're covering Russia 24/7, and they're covering Syria, but they won't cover Yemen. And why? Because we're complicit. The United States military-industrial complex is helping commit genocide and war crimes inside of Yemen. We're doing that. We're doing a thing called siege warfare. Siege warfare is a war crime. They just prosecuted someone just a few months ago in The Hague over siege warfare. So that's where you cut off supplies to people. So you're trying to starve them. You're keeping them from medical supplies. You're keeping them from clean water. All kinds of stuff. You're keeping them from that's called siege warfare. We're doing that. So this is what shows you that all wars are bullshit, especially right now, especially the war in Syria, because we're going to intervene in Syria because they chemical attacked 50 people. Well, we just bombed a bus in Yemen that killed kids. The original report was 29 kids. Now I think it's up to 58. Right? Did we get a final number on those kids?
We checked the number on the kids.
So here is so the side news, the side story, or the story within the story. So I don't, I saw some pictures yesterday of them literally picking kids out of rubble. I accidentally saw it, like I accidentally see horrible videos, and it was in a Twitter feed underneath this thing, and I'm like, what does that look like? And then all of a sudden, they just pulled this little baby out of this rubble, and I was just like, Jesus Christ. And so I'm not going to show. I just can't. I don't have the emotional resiliency to show that stuff, so I'm not going to show it. There's plenty of places you can see that stuff, but I will show the MSNBC. I will show Chris Hayes covered this yesterday. So whenever Chris Hayes covers something important, it always makes news, because most of the time they're not covering things that are important. They're not covering the news. What the MSNBC is doing is propaganda. They're a propaganda wing of the establishment, and of course the Democratic Party and the establishment. And you know that Ed Schultz was fired because he wanted to cover Bernie Sanders, and the lefty news show, the cable news channel, wouldn't allow him to, and so they fired him. Because they're not really progressive. They're not really lefty. They're corporate. That's why Chris Hayes gets $30,000 a day, and he stands there in a $6,000 suit. And that's why he doesn't cover Yemen. They haven't covered Yemen on the whole channel for over a year. Not one story, but about 500 stories on Stormy Daniels. I'm not kidding, by the way.
So everything I'm finding...
About 500 to 1. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Everything I'm finding, the number's still at 56.
56.
56.
Okay.
Everything I'm finding right now.
So Chris Hayes... Chris Hayes is going to cover... Here's how he covers it. Let's watch. And so by the way, a lot of people are tipping their hat to Chris Hayes. Great coverage. Look at Chris Hayes covered the Yemen story. Chris Hayes covered Yemen on his news show. And I'm like, yeah, it's a fucking news show. And there was a massacre. Why wouldn't he cover it? Oh, that's right. Because he's not allowed to. So this is a big deal that he's allowed to tell you a smidgen of the truth about what's happening in Yemen. This is a big deal. Let's watch.
If I were to stand here on this broadcast and tell you that a foreign power had bombed a school bus full of American children, there would be no bigger story. We would be in a state of panic, horror, and mourning, and almost certainly immediate war. In fact, the thought experiment doesn't even work, because if that had happened, you wouldn't need me to tell you about it at 8:45.
At 8:45. This didn't even lead off his show. The United States complicit in murdering 56 children. He didn't get to this to 45 minutes into his show. So there you go. Okay.
No minutes after it happened. Well, today, a foreign power did bomb a school bus full of children. Only it was Yemeni children, and the Saudi-led coalition that did that bombing is backed by us, by the United States. The images you're about to see are extremely disturbing, and it's because a school bus bombed in a crowded market was left utterly destroyed, resulting in the deaths of at least 50 people, and most of them are children. And injuries, scores more. According to the authorities in the Houthi-governed Sana'a region, those are the rebels who are fighting that war in Yemen, the Red Cross says its medical team has received the bodies of 29 kids, all under 15 years old, and is treating dozens more injured children and adults. This attack is part of a U.S.-backed, Saudi-led war in Yemen, and it began during the Obama administration. It has intensified under the Trump administration. It has prompted what NGOs call the biggest humanitarian crisis in the world. And I quote here with,
the biggest humanitarian crisis in the world, we're going to wait till 8:45. We're going to wait till 45 minutes into our news broadcast. Biggest humanitarian crisis in the world. We haven't covered it for over a year, not even mentioned it. So, and everyone's going, well, kudos, he's doing it now. So kudos, he's doing it now.
Indiscriminate and disproportionate attacks on civilians, denial of access to humanitarian aid, and the use of starvation as a weapon of war. Now, the horror of this specific attack prompted a howl of outrage from Democratic Senator Chris Murphy. He wrote, U.S. bombs, U.S. targeting, U.S. mid-air support, and we just bombed a school bus. The Saudi UAE U.S. bombing campaign is getting more reckless.
So now, when Assad was supposed to have chemically attacked and killed 30 people with chemicals,
30.
We were supposed to bomb him now. And if Trump didn't bomb him, it was the proof that he was a treasonous president who was a Manchurian candidate who didn't have our best interests at heart. We were supposed to bomb Assad in Syria because he killed 30 people with gas. We literally just killed 56 kids. Who's supposed to bomb us now? When do we get bombed? When does someone call us butchers? When are we called butchers? When does that happen? It never happens.
Killing more civilians and strengthening terrorists inside Yemen. We need to end this now. He's right. Our government, our public dollars are paying to kill Yemeni children, and it's our government and our representatives that can stop it.
Wow, look at that. He spent almost 2.5 minutes. Almost 2.5 whole minutes. And people are going nuts complimenting him for doing that. So, by the way, that's how you know the Syrian war is bullshit, because when they say we're doing it on humanitarian grounds, we don't give a fuck about dead people or dead babies or anybody. We're killing them on the regular. We're using starvation as a tactic of war. That's illegal. That's a war crime. We're war criminals. So you've just been lied to. So these people running around with their hair on fire about how Putin is a butcher, Putin is bad. Look what we're doing, and we've been doing. Bombing hospitals, bombing school buses, supporting Netanyahu as he picks off journalists and assassinates medics in broad daylight. And this happens, and hey, we'll wait till we're about 45 minutes in, and then Chris will speak in very dulcet tones. Did you notice he didn't get upset? He wasn't screaming. He wasn't mad. He didn't wag his finger at anybody.
He had his hand on his heart. Still a patriot.
I also noticed that his sleeves weren't rolled up. Jimmy, I want to add a couple facts. This is from antiwar.com, and they point out that the reporters at the scene said it was unclear why the bus was targeted, noting that there are no military installations anywhere near the market. They added that this remote area of Sada province has few hospitals, and Saudi naval blockade has left them with no medicine, so the death toll is certain to rise. UNICEF released a statement and said, no excuses anymore. More innocent children's lives to stop the cruel war on children in Yemen. No more.
So we just did in Yemen worse than Sandy Hook. We just did worse than... Remember Sandy Hook? Do you remember how the whole country melted down? This guy waits till 45 minutes of his news show to even talk about it. Something that's worse than Sandy Hook. And he talks about it in very dulcet tones, very calm, very this is that, and we should stop this. This is not good. Okay, we'll be back with some Russia shit. Because I'm being paid $30,000 a day. Literally, didn't even spend 3 minutes on this story.
I want to just add, they have a quote here from the Saudi Arabian spokesperson, Colonel Turki al-Malki, was defiant about the attacks on the busload of children, and he said the attack, quote, is a legitimate military action in accordance with international humanitarian law.
So who bombs us now? Someone should be supposed to bomb us for this, right? That's how you're supposed. If you're moral, should we bomb ourselves? If we're moral, wouldn't we bomb? Where should we bomb in the United States because of this? Where should we bomb? And now, does a special prosecutor in Yemen get to indict military people from the United States? You know how Mueller just indicted people in Russia for doing normal spy shit? So someone get to indict the general who ordered this, or the fucking soldiers who helped do this, or who helped refuel the plane who did that? No. Or how about the politicians who sold the weapons that did that? No. Nobody. Nothing. So that's how you know it's all bullshit and you're being lied to about war. Again. Saudi Arabia sits on the UN's Human Rights Council. And he's not screaming about it at all. He's telling you about it. And again, I would like to see pictures of the military people who are in cahoots with the Saudis. I want to see a picture inside the room, because there's a room where they sit and the United States Army people and military people advise the Saudi people on where to put these strikes. There's a room. And I have those pictures of those people on my computer, which is now drying out in the sun. This is probably Jill Stein's fault.
Oh, yeah.
This is probably
Absolutely.
Jill Stein or Susan Sarandon's fault. Right, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Or has this been our policy all along? Has this been the United States policy under Barack Obama, too? Now you know why people can't bring themselves to vote for corporatist warmongers? Because then you're complicit in this shit. And that's why I'll never give my vote to a corporatist warmonger. Ever. Because I'm not going to be complicit in this shit. I don't care how much Chris Hayes wags his finger at me after he just showed Trump's empty podium for an hour. He's responsible for this. He propped up Trump. He got Trump elected. He showed Trump's empty podium. He didn't cover Bernie Sanders. And he did it for money. So this is on him.
Well, we also have, supposed intellectuals that compare driving in traffic to innocent casualties in bombings as just kind of the cost of doing business. And we celebrate those people. So of course people are complicit.
So now you know why I won't vote for those people. So there you go. We covered it. It's way worse. It's heartbreaking. It's like, to me, I can barely look at it. I couldn't barely look at it when we were playing it. I can barely look at it. It's, and this is why I voted for Jill Stein. This is why I would not vote for someone who would do more of this. Because at some point, I just can't participate in it anymore. And this was happening under Barack Obama. This is being ramped up under Trump. It certainly would have been ramped up under Hillary Clinton. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed. Even if you think you are, you're probably not. It only takes a second to check, and then you have to ring that bell so they send you a notification when we drop a new video. Otherwise, they won't tell you when we drop new videos. And if you like our show, please help support it. Become a patron. We give you hours of bonus material every week, and we give a live stream. We do a live stream every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific time when you could ask us questions and we answer them back. Thanks for your support.